Shadows, the horror movie heroes. Written by Clouds. Read by Distracted by Books. Chapter 12. Heartbeat. Kyoka froze as the entire cafe turned on her. The heroes weren't there yet, but they were trying to make this simulation as real as possible, so there was still a possibility that police or even a vigilante might show up. She needed to run, but the only problem was that there was a crowd of people blocking the door. She needed to get them out of her way, like 5 minutes ago. Her heartbeat was rocketing out of control, and it gave her an idea. Her eyes flicked around the cafe until she saw a speaker, and she immediately shot out her earphone jacks and plugged herself in before anyone could stop her. She projected her heartbeat, but the speaker didn't have enough power to blow anyone out of the way. The people in the cafe were getting even more defensive than they had been before, and were becoming just as anxious as she was. Her heartbeat beat a little faster as it echoed loudly through the cafe. This wasn't good. "We need to get her! Now!" one of the civilians cried out. "When do the heroes get here?" "Not for a couple of hours." Someone yelled, "We need to take care of this ourselves." Kyoka's heartbeat increased again, and within a few minutes, the mob surrounding her was even more frightened, and that pushed them to be even more aggressive. This was just an exercise. Why were they acting so aggressively? She unplugged one of her earphone jacks and swiveled it around to listen to everyone's heartbeats and froze. Everyone's heartbeat was in sync with hers. Kyoka's eyes widened. She'd read a paper once that the human heartbeat will often change to match strong music or another person's heartbeat if they're near enough. Was that what was happening? There was only one way to find out. Kyoka took a deep breath and focused on calming down and slowing her heart rate. The effect was almost immediate. She had always had some control over her heartbeat, but it seemed oddly easier today, and the mob actually did calm down in sync with her as she slowed the rhythm she was projecting. She gulped and focused on projecting a calming beat as she turned slowly to the cashier. "I'm just here for some food. Give me a pastry and let me be on my way." The cashier's eyes were hazy as she grabbed somebody else's order and handed it to her. "You seem like a nice young lady. Have a nice day." Okay." Kyoka turned back to the mob. Well, the crowd, now that they'd all calmed down. "Clear me a path to the door, please." There were some nods as people agreeably stood aside, and Kyoka considered her next move. It probably wouldn't take long for them to snap out of it once she stopped projecting her heartbeat. So she unplugged and booked it, not stopping until she was down the street and around the corner. Her heartbeat had risen again, but she wasn't projecting it, so the only person affected was herself as she clutched the paper bag to her chest and sunk down against the brick wall. What the heck just happened? Hitoshi put his hands in his pockets and sauntered through the square while keeping an eye out for his target. He'd stashed most of the weapons somewhere safe and kept one knife and one handgun hidden away, just so he didn't look too suspicious. There was a lot of pink-haired guys wandering around today, and he sighed and discreetly pressed his palm. "Izuku, I need a bit more of a detailed description." "Oh, right," Izuku's voice said. "Okay, Oh, he's the one sitting at the fountain. His name is Hiroshi Tameda, by the way." Hitoshi looked over, and sure enough, there was a guy with pink hair sitting at the fountain. He smiled. "Much better. Thanks, Izuku." "No problem," Izuku responded. "Good luck." Hitoshi nodded and made his way toward his target, clearing his throat when he got close enough. Hi. Do you know any good places to eat around here?" Tameda huffed in annoyance. "Well, if you bothered to look around." Hitoshi took control with a smile. "Walk beside me." Tameda stood up like a puppet, and Hitoshi nervously walked beside him, slinging an arm around his shoulder and keeping up a stream of nonsense conversation so they looked like two friends despite the stilted way that Tameda was walking and his blank expression. This was the most risky part of their entire plan. If someone were to pay attention to them or recall them acting suspiciously and tell the heroes. Finally, They got out of sight of the street, and Hitoshi breathed a sigh of relief. Hey, sorry about this, dude, but I'm gonna need your token if I want to pass as a civilian. He pulled out the gun, making sure the silencer was attached correctly before he took aim. It took him a surprising amount of mental effort to actually pull the trigger. Even though he knew it was just a paint gun, he was still taking this guy out of the game permanently, and it felt real. After a long moment, Hitoshi took a deep breath and fired at his heart. The silence in the viewing room was deafening. Did he just... Mike's jaw dropped, and he looked at the others in shock. Is he allowed to do that? The heroes haven't arrived yet. That guy isn't one of the official targets, Snipe pointed out. Therefore, killing him ain't an objective, and normal crimes ain't technically disallowed before the heroes arrive. Yeah, otherwise that Jiro girl would have been disqualified for stealing breakfast, Midnight said. I still want to know how she did that. I know her file says she can project her heartbeat, but that was something else. My only question about Shinso is why? Aizawa leaned forward. Why kill a random civilian before the heroes have even arrived? I'm surprised you haven't figured it out yet, Aizawa, Nedzu said in delight, but perhaps this will help. He projected Tameda's file onto the screen, and the teachers watched in shock as the file changed before their eyes. Shinso's face and name replacing Tameda's within just a few seconds. I believe we need to officially inform Tameda that he is now deceased, Nedzu smiled, and I suppose congratulations are in order for Shinso on his civilian disguise. Tameda staggered back and looked at Hitoshi incredulously. Oi! What the heck, dude? Sorry, Hitoshi said sheepishly. Can you hand over your token now? What? Tameda paused and listened to his calm, then burst out laughing. I can't believe you seriously just killed me. The exercise hasn't even started yet. Yeah, well, I kind of need to steal your identity before the heroes get here, Hitoshi shrugged. So, your token? And thanks for being so cool about everything, by the way. No problem. Tameda flipped his token like a quarter and made Hitoshi catch it, which he did. I mean, Endeavor's my favorite hero, so people being jerks doesn't really bother me. Ouch. Hitoshi deadpan. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Tameda laughed. Okay, but you better win this. If you're forcing me out of the game this early, you have to at least have something to show for it. Hitoshi grinned. Oh, don't worry. We will. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief. After completing Hitoshi's file just minutes after their first kill, he'd pointed out another target, and now they had 2 civilian tokens and the files to match a whole hour before the heroes were set to arrive. Perfect. Okay, Hitoshi, I'm going to change out of my villain gear and try to find us a place to live for the week, Izuku said. Can you get us groceries and meet me there? Sure thing, Izuku, Hitoshi responded. And we're sitting out the mad rush at the beginning, right? Well, not sitting out, Izuku said slowly. Hitoshi sighed. We're watching the whole thing via the cameras, aren't we? Izuku smiled. Well, how else are we supposed to get to know our competition? End of chapter.